Hi students, in this video I am going to talk about economics. So let me begin with the definition. So if you see in this slide, you can see there are four definitions. So let us look at the first one. Economics is defined as the social science concerned with how individuals, institutions, and society make optimal or best choices under conditions of scarcity. Uh, Economics is a social study because it deals with people and their behavior. And economics is a science because, as far as possible, uh, scientific approaches are used to study the behavior of people or uh, study how uh, people make choices under conditions of scarcity. Uh, if you look at the other three definitions, they are essentially same. So they all talk about making choices under conditions of scarcity. If you look at this definition, you can see the limited resources here, and uh, how people may how people choose among alternatives. So all this refers to the conditions of scarcity only. Okay, so now to talk a little bit further about scarcity, first we need to define uh, the resources. When we talk about scarcity, we are talking about scarcity of resources. So to talk about the scarcity of resources, first we need to talk about the resources themselves. So in economics, resources are um, classified into four broad categories: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So land is nothing but natural resources such as minerals, forest, water, and unimproved land. Labor refers to physical and mental talents people contribute to the production process for the production of goods and services. Capital refers to the produced goods that can be used as inputs for further production. And the examples include factories, machinery, tools, computer, buildings, and so on. Entrepreneurship refers to a particular talent that some people have for organizing the above resources, land, labor, and capital, in order to produce goods or seek new business opportunity or develop new ways of doing things. So entrepreneurship is an important resource. If there were no entrepreneurship, then uh, there will not be production of goods and services by organizing the above three resources. Now to define what scarcity is. Scarcity is the condition in which our wants are greater than the limited resources that are available to satisfy those wants. So our wants are infinite, but our resources are finite. Therefore, scarcity is central to economics. Sometimes economists uh, say that if there were no scarcity, then there would not be economics. Because if there were unlimited resources to satisfy our unlimited wants, then there will be no question of studying the behavior of people, and there would not be economics. Therefore, economics is sometimes defined as the science of scarcity. Now, because of scarcity, it gives rise to following three conditions. One condition or one situation that gives rise that the scarcity gives rise to is the need to make choices. Because of the scarcity of resources, we have to make choices. We are required to make choices. So, if you choose one thing, you cannot do the other. Okay, so because of scarcity, there will be a need to make choices. The other situation that scarcity gives rise to is the need for a means for deciding who gets what of the goods and services. So, because of the scarcity, we need to find a means of deciding, a means of deciding who gets what, and that means for deciding who gets what in economics is called rationing device. An example of rationing device is neutrum price or the neutrum or money. So money is one means of deciding who gets what of the goods and services, of any goods and services. So with money or neutrum, uh, we can decide who will get what or who can get what. So for example, if there are uh, two cars in a showroom, then the the price tag fixed for those two cars will uh, allow people to decide who can buy and own those two cars. The third situation, scarcity, uh, gives rise to is the existence of competition. Because of scarcity, people will have to compete for the limited resources. If there were enough resources to satisfy all our unlimited wants, people would not have to compete for the limited resources that we have in reality. Now, uh, this competition takes the form of people trying to get more of the rationing device. So, if the rationing device is neutron price, then people will try to earn neutron. So, the competition may not be directly for the goods and services because uh, neutron price is the means for deciding who gets what. People will actually try to compete for the rationing device through which people can actually uh, make decision as to what goods and services they would like to own. Another important concept in economics is opportunity cost, and the behavior of people is connected to opportunity cost. How people make choices is connected to opportunity cost. Now, to talk about the opportunity cost first, opportunity cost is nothing but the most highly valued opportunity or alternative forfeited or foregone when a choice is made. In other words, opportunity cost is the best alternative foregone for a chosen alternative. So, this principle of the opportunity cost states that some highly valued opportunity must be foregone in all economic decisions. So, if we try to see how opportunity cost actually changes a person's behavior, then you can take your own example. As you are uh, watching and listening to this video, you are actually giving up the opportunity to do something else. For example, the opportunity to earn maybe 100 newton an hour working at a job. So if you spend an hour watching and listening to my video, then the opportunity cost that you are uh, foregoing is the newton 100 that you could earn every hour by working at a job. Now, uh, if, for example, the opportunity cost of attending to my video or listening to my video, if I change, for example, from 100 newton to 10,000 newton arbitrarily tomorrow, then you will think twice and and you might better choose to actually work at that job and earn 10,000 instead of listening to my video or watching this video. So that is how the behavior of people changes as the opportunity cost changes. So in general, as the opportunity cost of doing something increases relative to the benefit of doing that thing, then we are likely to change our decision from what we are doing now to the other. So that means the higher the opportunity cost of doing something, the less likely it will be done, or less likely that you will do something that you were previously doing. So this is a part of economic way of thinking. So that is what actually economics try to study or analyze. So now to move on further, we will talk about the two branches of economics, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So to begin with the microeconomics, again, there are three definitions here. We will look at only one. So you can see the first one, microeconomics is defined as the study of how households and firms make decisions and how they interact in specific markets. If you look at the other definition here, microeconomics is the branch of economics that deals with human behavior and choices as they relate to relatively small units. For example, an individual, a firm, an industry, or a single market. So, microeconomics looks at how an individual, a firm, an industry, or a single market works, or how an individual, a single firm, or an industry make decisions or economic decisions. So microeconomics is concerned with answering questions, answering questions, or answering such questions, which is written here. So microeconomics is concerned with answering such questions as how does a market work, a single market work. For example, a market for Apple. Microeconomics deals with answering questions such as what level of output does a firm produce, or what price does a firm charge, a single firm charge for the good it produces, or how a consumer determines how much of a good he or she will buy. So microeconomics deals with the study of all such questions or deals with finding answers to all such questions. Now, to talk about the macroeconomics, macroeconomics is the study of economy-wide phenomena, including inflation, unemployment, economic growth. Another definition is the branch of economics that deals with human behavior and choices as they relate to the entire economy, or decision making for the economy as a whole. So macroeconomics is concerned with aggregate level of income and employment, for example, or macroeconomics would examine why the level of interest rates and prices change, or macroeconomics would deal with how inflation rate changes, or why some national economies grow faster than the other national economies. So if you further see some of the differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics, then you can see in microeconomics, economists discuss about a single price, while in macroeconomics, they discuss the price level, overall price level in the economy, not a single market, but overall economy. Uh, Another difference you can see is microeconomics deals with the demand for a particular good or service, whereas macroeconomics deals with aggregate or total demand for goods and services, not the demand for a particular good or service. Another difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics is that microeconomics examines how a tax change affects a single firm's output. A single firm's output. Here we are talking about single firm's output. Whereas macroeconomics looks at how a tax affects the entire economy's output. So macroeconomy looks at how a change in tax affect an entire economy's output. So these are some of the differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics to make you uh, clear, to make you more clear about the differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics, or to get better understanding of what microeconomics and macroeconomics are. Now to move on further, we will talk about demand. Demand is nothing but the willingness and ability of buyers to purchase different quantities of a good at different prices during a specified period of time, or during a specified time period. So which may be per day or per week or per month and so on. So please note, demand is nothing but the willingness and ability. So if there is a demand, then both these conditions must be there: willingness and ability. If there is willingness but no ability or not enough money to purchase, then demand does not happen. Uh, okay, although you have money to purchase different quantities of a good, but you have no willingness, or you actually don't want to purchase or buy, then demand does not occur. Okay, so the condition for a demand to happen are that both willingness and ability of a buyer must be there. Otherwise, there will be no demand. Now, the law of demand is defined like this: as the price of a good rises or increases, the quantity demanded of the good, the same good, falls or decreases. And as the price of a good falls, the quantity demanded of the good rises, while all other things are held constant. Or, in other words, it is also called ceteris paribus. So, you can also define like this: as the price of a good rises, the quantity demanded of the good falls, and as the price of a good falls, the quantity demanded of the good rises, ceteris paribus. So here the quantity demanded is nothing but the number of units of a good that individuals are willing and able to buy at a particular price during some specified time period. Okay. So according to the law of demand, the change in quantity demanded is observed as a movement along the demand curve. So this is the demand curve, which is plotted against the quantity on the x-axis or horizontal axis and price on the vertical or y-axis. So this is the demand curve. So the change in quantity demanded actually moves along the demand curve. As the price of the good or service changes, the quantity demanded actually moves along this curve, straight line, the demand curve, which is downward sloping. Okay, so if the price of a good is $15, then you can see the quantity is 3.8 compared to the price when it is $35, the quantity is 1.8, which is less. So this actually is inconsistent with the law of the demand. So we can look at the demand curve from the individual point of view or market or a market. So an individual demand curve represents the price quantity combinations of a particular good for a single buyer, whereas a market demand curve represents the price quantity combinations of a particular good for the same good for all the buyers. For example, a market demand curve is derived by adding up all the individual demand curves. So you can see this example, one example here, for example. So you can see the demand schedule of three different buyers. One buyer here, another buyer here, and then other buyers here. So three different buyers, and here you can see all the buyers. So here is the change in price of a good, and these are showing the individual buyers and some other buyers here. So the total demand is shown here. So as the price, if the price is 15, then this person is buying only one quantity at a given period of time, and this is buying two, and other buyers are buying 20, and the total is 23. But at $10, this person is buying 6. You can see the increase in the quantity demanded as the price decreases. And similarly, this person is buying 7 and other buyers are buying 160, and that is making up the total to 173, and this represents the market demand. Actually, these quantities demand the quantity demanded for a particular market. Okay, so in the graphical form we can see this. So for this particular person, Mr. Jones, Smith and other buyers, the demand curves for Jones, Smith and other buyers, and demand curve for the market, for the particular market. Okay, so at $12, the demand for the good from Jones is 4, 5 for Smith and other buyers 100, and the total will be 4 plus 5 plus 100, which gives 109 at $12. At another price of $11 for Jones, the quantity demanded is 5. For Smith, it is 6, and for other buyers, it is 130. So the total quantity demanded for the particular market is 5 plus 6 plus 130, which gives 140. So this is the market demand. So that is how you construct a demand curve for a market. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you.